the Hebrew language has different ways of highlighting connections between clauses and between paragraphs than we have in English. So in English, we rely pretty heavily on what I call discourse markers. Um, they're little particles, usually conjunctions, that help us to see this is how this clause relates to this. So if I say therefore, I'm bringing something to a conclusion. Or if I say and then, it's going to be the next event, probably in some narrative. Or if I say and so, oh, this is the result of what happened before. So Hebrew has those discourse markers, but then it also has things in practices and conventions that we don't have in English and that are foreign to us. And so one of the things that they do is when they're trying to tell a narrative, they'll have this standard form, which is sometimes called viactol or preterite. Sometimes you hear it referred to as imperfect with the vav consecutive. It's all referring to the same thing. And it'll have this chain of those forms, one after another after another. If you were to
It's
hear
very
a little
common.
kid in English telling a story and saying, and then, and then, and then, and then, it would sound kind of like weird to us in
Yeah,
English,
but there's a
but that would
rhythm.
actually be
There's a
the
cadence.
effect.
It's kind of like a rhythmic.
Yeah. Yeah. And so anytime then that we have a departure from that sequence, that form, that's like, wow, pay attention to me. I'm doing something different now. So, when Jonah is in the storm and it talks about how the Lord hurls the wind and the ship is about to break apart, then all of a sudden the narrator breaks and he says, now Jonah had gone down into the hold of the ship and fallen asleep. And we realize, okay, that's probably not something he did during the storm. It's probably something that had happened prior to the storm. And what's he doing there? Well, he's giving us a little background flashback there. And that flashback is highlighted by a change in the Hebrew construction. So part of what I'm trying to help people do is pay attention to those transitions. And that then answers your question of how does this help resolve exegetical debates? Um, when we understand those conventions, we can say, okay, we have grounds in this text for seeing that little sequence there of Jonah going and falling asleep as a background comment because of the change in the verbal construction. You went from the viactol preterite form to now vav plus a noun plus a katal or perfect form there to describe the little flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so understanding how these conventions work are then the key to being able to distinguish one interpretation from another and weigh those interpretations.